how to manage call drops or stoppers. Now, the first scenario, when you call, the first call drop scenario, you call and the respondent is not interested, and the person wants to drop the call, the person wants to end the call. Quickly, you need to explain the purpose of the project. Here, purpose of the project. You see, we are still hammering on the purpose of project. Understanding the project is very key. And since we are doing this remotely, it is very, very important that you take all the models seriously and you read whatever document is sent to you, and whatever guides the project management team gives you, you need to take it very, very seriously. So explain the purpose of the project and what and how the results, the findings will be helpful. So an example is like you say that this result, the result of this survey will help inform government and other partners on economic trends of current outbreak, assuming we are talking about COVID-19, or maybe we are talking about an outbreak. If it's just a bad time, I'll be happy to call back whenever it's most convenient. Is a good way of handling it. So you call George. Hello, George. I'm sorry for calling you at this time. I want you to understand that the result of this project, you might have already spoken about the project. The result of this project will help inform government and other partners on economic trends on the current outbreak, and which will be very useful for future outbreaks. And I'll be very happy if I'll be very happy to call you back whenever it's most convenient for you. A very good way of handling it. The second scenario is the respondent is too busy. You call the respondent like, hey, yeah, I'm busy. I'm a busy man. Yes, I said I'm a busy man. I mean, the respondent is busy. What do you do? Now, when the respondent seems to or appears to be super busy, ask the respondent for an appropriate day and time that he or she will be less busy. Let's not assume that most respondents who are in this category might want to send a message to you that I'm always busy, but we know that there are some times they could make for this. So please make sure, in a nice way, in a nice and polite way, you try and ask the respondent to give you a date and time with less busy, and you make appointment when necessary. And this time, just allow the respondent. Don't tell the respondent, okay, we can only talk to you on Mondays to Friday. Allow the respondent to give you the right or comfortable time and date. And when this is given and it doesn't fall within the usual call times, then you can now discuss this with the project management team. Now let's look at the third scenario for call drops. You call the respondent is like, you call the respondent and he's like, I don't like answering questions over phone. I mean, I don't like talking to people, responding to questions over phone. What do you do? And assuming you are the one saying that you're an enumerator or a surveyor, what would you want the surveyor to tell you to convince you? So what you do here is to explain the constraints of an in-person survey. We assume that those who will be in this category in these times will be like, oh, I don't talk to people over phone. Maybe if you meet me one-on-one, we can discuss. Give him all the constraints. We are not able to come to you because of this, Explain all these constraints and let the person know that we would have loved to see you in person. An example is this. So like saying that, okay, I understand your concerns, would have loved to pay you a visit, but we can't do this given the current circumstances. It's actually constraining us. And you just tell the person, okay, why don't I try reading a few questions and we'll see how it goes. Try to catch the person to have a taste of the survey before, if the person will continue to say, I don't want to talk to you on phone, the person can decide. So try in a nice way to get a person to have a taste, a feel of the survey. It's like, why don't I try reading a few questions and we'll see how it goes. Of course, if there are any questions that you don't want to answer, just let me know. let's look at the fourth scenario. The fourth scenario is someone who's like, for me, I don't do it on phone, I don't do it in person. Send me an email, or maybe send me a form online. Maybe send me a Google form, I'll fill it for you. Send me a date, I'll fill it for you. Try to explain to the person about the pros and cons of all this. Try to let the person know that the speed and the importance of having someone to talk with you to receive the the responses. An example is to say the reason we do the service over the phone is that it's much faster and more accurate, because I will be available to answer any other questions that bothers you on some specific models or questions, and also it will take just a few minutes. And if now is not a good time, I'll be happy to call you back whenever it's most convenient for you. So let the person understand the fact that it is faster, and it is very important to have somebody to guide you through answering the questions. Not to say they cannot do it on their own, but they might be confused, or maybe because some questions might not be clear to them in their language, and you are just on the phone to direct them. Right now, let's haven't spoken about the call drops. We want to look at certain call stopper instances. So the first one is phone turned off, or network issues, or no response. You call the person, phone is off, network issue, no response. What do you do? Remember to follow the call interval protocol discussed earlier. What was that protocol? We talk about the fact that you call in a minimum of 9 times, 3 times a day, leave a day in between after you call. And when you call within a day, when you call, leave at least 2 to 3 hours in between, preferably 3 hours in between. From 8 you call 11, from 11 you call 2 p.m. Yeah, that is the call interval protocol. So you must attempt every number 3 times intervals per day, and I mean 9 times, that means on 3 different days with 1 day interval in between them. Then poor network during a call. Assuming you are speaking with a respondent and the network begins to jam, problem on the network, what do? So you kindly request the respondent to provide alternative number, or maybe ask in a nice way for the respondent to position themselves well, find a better place to have these conversation. Now let's look at scenarios where you are doing call, you call the respondent and the respondent could not pick, and later on the respondent sends you a text message, or maybe sends you a message that I missed your call, I did this. What do? So the first thing you do is to call immediately to conduct the survey, or you schedule the interview. You call the person immediately. Some of these unreached respondents might not be reached again if you don't call immediately. So make sure you call immediately to actually conduct an interview or schedule an appointment. And the scheduling of an appointment should be with reason. And you can only schedule an appointment if at that time you are an interview is logistically impossible. We mean at that time, if at that time probably you are not with the tracking sheet, the person called after 5:30 p.m. that you are working, you have to reschedule the person. The person called before that, the person called very early in the morning, 6 a.m. You are not set up for work. You have to reschedule the respondent. Now, so what if the respondent not available from 8 a.m. to 5 a.m. on weekdays? We work from within this period, 8 a.m. 5 a.m. 8 a.m. 5 a.m. The respondent is not available within this time. what do we do? So when a respondent is not available, like the previous one we discussed, try and make an appointment with the respondent and get a very appropriate, good and comfortable time for the respondent, and note this on your tracking sheet, and make sure you report to the project management team, and they will plan on whether to reassign, reschedule, or reassign to whoever they would want to have a look at. So these are some of the instances of the refusals, call drops, and call stoppers that we just look at. Now, let's review our lesson today. Today, we have looked at managing call drops and call stoppers in phone conversations. And thank you.